You stole my rent money to book a hotel with a stranger? That is what I said while my girlfriend, female, 29 years old, blinked at me with mascara flakes on her cheek like ash. And yes, I told her that before I told her I was the stranger. If you stick around to the end, you will hear the part where a security guard found her crying in a floral robe in a hallway that smelled like bleach and citrus disinfectant while I texted her a photo of her suitcase right next to a box labeled free. I am 31 years old, male, a public school music teacher who buys generic cereal and fixes wobbly desks with wood glue. I am not the petty type. But when you spend a year getting gaslit, love-bombed, and financially sandpapered down to splinters, your patience becomes a matchstick. She said, "You're overreacting." I said, "I am finally reacting." The truth? I had known for weeks. She slept with her phone zipped into a hoodie pocket like it was a newborn and would angle the screen away from me even when her mother texted. He didn't cheat. He built a double life. That line popped into my head the night the phone slid onto the hardwood with a soft thunk and lit up like a slot machine. 3 alerts from a blue-themed dating app I had never seen on her home screen. I did not scream. I did not demand. I made coffee, the cheap, burnt kind that tastes like the underside of a diner, and sat at our wobbling kitchen table, listening to the radiator hiss like a snake. Then I called my coworker, Diego, and said the 4 words that change a life. I need your cousin. Kylie, 22 years old, bartender, cornflower blue eyes that look like sci-fi contact lenses. She had never met my girlfriend, and she laughed when I told her the plan. "You want me to be bait?" she said over the scratchy speaker as she closed up her bar, the hum of a soda gun in the background. "I want you to be justice," I said. We made a new profile that smelled like coconut sunscreen and bad decisions. Guess who super liked her within 12 minutes? Single, my girlfriend wrote. Roommate situation, LOL. She said she worked freelance content, which is true in the same way that I am freelance astronaut because I own a pair of boots. I paid our rent on a teacher salary. I paid for her almond milk and her serums lined up like little soldiers. She paid me in lectures about partnership and solidarity. The first direct message from Kylie popped up while I ate reheated pasta, listening to the upstairs neighbor practice trumpet. My girlfriend giggled on the couch, texting someone else. We set a date for Friday. We picked a hotel near the highway, the kind where the ice machine sounds like it is coughing up secrets. "Bring something sexy," Kylie wrote. She responded with a fire emoji. My girlfriend loved blue eyes. She loved blue anything except collars. Always pass on what you have learned, Yoda says. Fine, here is lesson 1. The quiet plan is the loudest revenge. Diego and my sister, Lila, took turns being my Greek chorus. Lila is 34 years old and has a baby who drools like a bulldog. She lives in a tidy townhouse that smells like lavender cleaner and warmed milk. She is all pink flags, Lila said, rocking the stroller with one ballet-slippered foot. Not even red. The cute kind you ignore. The first week hurt like biting ice. Every ding on her phone sounded like a dare. She claims she had a brand meeting. I smelled tequila on her breath at noon and found a receipt for a juice bar with 2 names on it and a sloppy smiley face. Meanwhile, Kylie learned that my girlfriend's mother's birthday was coming up and that she might need to stay over at Mom's for support. My girlfriend asked me for $50 to help buy a gift. I gave it to her and watched the way her eyes softened at the bill like she was seeing an old friend. Here is lesson 2. When abusers cry, they are crying that you stopped applauding. You put him back on his feet, someone wrote on a similar story once. But let us be clear, she put me under her boot. I had been thinking about leaving for months. Every time I tried, she turned brittle, then mean. She broke a mug because I refused to order sushi. She threatened to tell people who I am. What does that even mean? That I budget? We kept chatting. She told Kylie she was a free spirit, that she never wanted to be owned, that she was not like other girls. Every cliche came out like freshly ironed lies. On Thursday night, she did that thing where she sat close enough for her perfume to fog my brain, but angled her screen away like a hostage. What would you do if you found out the way I did? I asked the kettle, my own face distorted in the stainless steel. Diego said, "You are playing chess against a pigeon, man. She is going to knock all the pieces over and strut around like she won." Lila said, "Document everything. Do not confront. Keep your calm. You are a teacher. You do calm for a living." I took Friday off and used the time the way abusers use charm, efficiently. I called the building manager, who confirmed only my name was on the lease. I scheduled a locksmith for Saturday morning and asked an officer friend, our school resource guy, about a restraining order. "If she threatens you or your pets, document it and call," he said, voice heavy as a winter coat. In the mirror, my face looked older but clearer, like someone wiped fog off the glass. I bought contractor bags and labeled boxes with a Sharpie. I folded her dresses like they were museum pieces and laid her costume jewelry into Ziplocs that clinked like tiny bells. And because I am not a monster, I set one suitcase aside with her essentials: the robe, the brush with half the bristles missing, the chipped mug she calls my morning face. These things matter: the smell of black marker, the squeak of tape, the way the cardboard feels when you press your thumb into it. They are proof that you are not out for blood. You are out for air. Friday, 8:10 p.m. Golden arches of the highway reflecting in the puddles like a cheap cathedral. The hotel was one of those budget places off the exit where every door looks the same and the ice machine is older than your grandmother. "Room 214, I texted from Kylie. "I'll be late. Wanna look perfect." The front desk smelled like lemon pledge and indifference. I had paid for the room using a prepaid card, the kind you buy at a pharmacy, next to the last-minute balloons. There was a laminated sign on the counter that said, "Absolutely no parties." Hilarious. My girlfriend arrived at 9:03, wearing my favorite gray hoodie, hair in a messy bun, carrying the tote I bought her at the art fair. "Saucy," I texted her from across the parking lot, where Diego and I hid behind a dying palm and a damp planter. She texted back a winky face as she hurried inside, chin tucked against the drizzle. She believed she was going to cheat on me with a blue-eyed bartender in a room with a view of the ice machine. She believed she was the main character. If you think the worst part was getting her to send a video, no. The worst part was that it was easy. "Send me a little preview," Kylie wrote, and she did, and I watched the gray hoodie slide off one shoulder like a curtain. I am a music teacher. I have seen teenagers do stupid things with their hearts. I did not shame her. I logged it. I sent myself timestamps. I kept my face still. At 11:52, Kylie wrote, "Almost there. Uber driver is lost." At 12:40, Kylie wrote, "Putting on lipstick." At 1:03, Kylie sent a photo of a suitcase on our apartment landing with a hand-lettered sign, "Free." The tape curled in the humidity like a smirk. I waited until 1:10. Then I sent her a message from my number, our thread with the heart emoji pinned at the top. "Happy Mother's Birthday weekend," I typed. "I left you a gift, too." Then I blocked her. Diego drove me home under streetlights that made the road look like it was cut into squares. At the building, we heard the late-night laundromat 2 doors down humming like a tired spaceship. I changed the locks while the cat, Newton, sat on the counter like a small judge. Newton sneezed. "Bless you," I said out loud to no one, then packed the last box and set it by the door. "This is the way," Diego said. He watches too much sci-fi. Or maybe just enough. She hit the door at 10:12 a.m. Saturday, mascara like war paint, hair frizzed from the mist. "You cannot do this," she said, voice high enough to cut glass. "My toothbrush is in there." I told her I would hand over the suitcase and essentials right then and there if she did not make a scene. She did. She banged. She clutched her robe, the floral one with fraying ties, and raised her voice so our neighbor, Mrs. Patel, poked her head out with curlers like tiny flagpoles. "Do not be unkind," Mrs. Patel said gently, voice scented with cumin and talc. "I am not," I said. "I am being done." My girlfriend's crying shifted into something uglier. "You are going to be homeless," she said. "You cannot keep this place without me." I laughed, and it came out like a bark. She tried a different tactic. She said I owed her because she supported my art.
I teach fifth graders how to sing Lean on Me without yelling. You lied, I said. You stole. You planned to cheat. Trust can be rebuilt, she spit, a line she had probably saved for emergencies. Would you stay in a relationship after this betrayal? I asked, shocking myself with how calm it sounded. She did not answer. She tried to shove past me, fingers digging into my arm, hard enough that I knew I would find yellow fingerprints later. I closed the door and called the non-emergency number because my hands were shaking and I did not want to be the man yelling back. 2 officers came, the hallway chalky with fluorescent light. She switched to wet sobbing. He locked me out, she told them. My name is not on the lease, I told them, showing my paperwork.
She can take her essentials. The rest will be scheduled for pickup. When she heard the word essentials, she went still like a cat who has spotted a bird. You are ruining my life, she whispered. Actions have consequences, Mrs. Patel said from her doorway, as if we were actors in a morality play and she was the chorus. You cannot eat cake and keep it, Beta. Mrs. Patel has 3 sons and the voice of wisdom. I handed over the suitcase and the tote with the chipped mug, and I watched her shoulders slump. She took 3 steps down the hall, stopped, turned back, and said the thing abusers say when the show is over. You will be sorry. The officer looked at me, eyebrows raised. Do you want to make a report? He said. I did. I documented the text where she threatened Newton. I read the case number off the card while Newton sniffed the corner of the coffee table where her ring used to sit. Is cheating a mistake or a choice? I asked nobody, the radiator hissing back like it was thinking. The apartment felt bigger without her. It also felt like an echo chamber. You did not go too far, Leela said when I told her everything that night. She brought a casserole that tasted like childhood and a 6-pack of the cheap beer I like because it is honest about being cheap. Is it better to forgive or to fight back? Diego asked, half serious, holding Newton like a furry loaf. I did not answer. My throat hurt like I had sung all day without warming up. The apartment smelled like cardboard and curry and new beginnings. Here is the twist I promised. At 11 p.m., my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Is this Kylie? I stared. Then it came, a string of messages that made me sit down on the box labeled bathroom because my knees forgot their job. I was at the hotel for 2 hours, the number wrote. Your friend never showed. I called the front desk and they said the room was booked under a man's name. Another message. Do not worry. I am not here to fight. I am here to confess. It was a man who had been chatting with my girlfriend too. A man whose girlfriend had seen his notifications and made him come clean. He told me my girlfriend had been juggling multiple dates, that she told each one a different story about who she lived with. He told me she had asked him for $50 for a gift for a friend. He told me she had bragged that she was going to upgrade her life. He told me her mother's birthday was actually in March. Here is lesson 3. When someone lies to everyone, everyone becomes a mirror. The reflection is ugly. Why are you telling me this? I typed. Because I have a sister, he wrote, and if she dated a guy like me, I would want someone to warn her. I saw your photo on her Instagram. You look kind. I laughed, and it came out like a sob. I thanked him. I blocked him. I stared at the wall where the plants used to hang like green tongues. Then I texted Kylie. Abort, I wrote. We are done. You sure? She wrote. I have one more pick that would end him. I am sure, I wrote. I looked at Newton, who was licking his paw as if nothing in the world ever changed. We are done. She tried 3 more times. Monday, when I was wiping dry erase markers off a staff room table that still had frosting smears from someone's birthday, she waited outside my building. Please, she said, every consonant a coin she wanted to spend. Please, just talk to me. Her eyes were red like she had been peeling onions. She told me she had nowhere to go. She told me that I had overreacted.
She told me that because she technically had not cheated, I owed her a conversation. I looked at her and saw it, the narrative she had built in her head with Pinterest quotes and soft lighting. She had not cheated, she had rehearsed, she had scheduled. The whole thing in her mind was a dress rehearsal interrupted by a fire alarm. Meanwhile, I was standing on the street where the bodega smelled like frying onions and car exhaust, holding papers from the restraining order office that felt heavy as bricks. "Would you ever check your partner's phone after this?" I asked Diego later, leaning on a metal railing that left a grid on my forearm. He said, "Dude, I would put a phone in a safe and throw the safe into the Hudson." At school, my fifth graders sang like tiny angels with colds. A girl in the front row asked why I looked sad. I told her my favorite plant had died. She said, "Get a new plant." I slept like I had swallowed gravel. I dreamed of hotel carpets and lemon cleaner, of the way her face looked when I said the quiet part out loud. I was the one on the app. I kept seeing the officer's card with the case number in ballpoint ink. I kept smelling tape and cardboard. Trauma is sensory. Healing is too. Tuesday, I made pancakes and burned them. Wednesday, I drove to the beach even though it was all gray sky and gulls.
Thursday, I took down the string lights she had insisted were moody. The apartment got brighter. So did I. "Is it better to know the truth or state ignorant?" Leela asked while we ate sushi off a coffee table without a runner for once. We did not answer. We ate spicy tuna that made our eyes water, and I let my phone sit face up on the couch where sunlight made the cracks in the screen look like a cobweb. I was learning to let quiet be quiet. 2 weeks later, the hearing. The courtroom smelled like stale paper and anxiety. The judge looked like every judge on television and scolded gently like an elementary school principal. She granted the restraining order because of the threat to Newton and the attempted forced entry captured on Mrs. Patel's ring camera. My girlfriend rolled her eyes and whispered, "Dramatic," as if the law were a theater kid. I walked out and exhaled. On the steps, I ran into the unknown number guy. He looked sheepish and offered coffee from a cardboard tray. "I wanted to see if you were okay," he said. "Also, I broke up with my girlfriend." "Is cheating worse if it lasts for years?" he asked, not looking at me. I thought of all the tiny cuts that become a wound. The hidden phone, the missing $20 bill, the way she laughed when I said I was tired. "It does not matter how long the snake is," I said. "It still bites." He nodded like he would embroider that on a pillow. On the subway home, a kid rapped along to a song too loud for his earbuds, and a woman in a bright yellow coat ate an orange that made the car smell like sunshine. I watched my reflection in the window. Tired, older, fine. My phone buzzed with a notification from a group chat. Diego sending a photo of Newton asleep inside one of her empty boots like a ship in a bottle. "Captain," he captioned it. Here is lesson 4. The world does not end when a liar leaves. It expands. I started to notice things. How quiet my apartment is at 7 a.m. The way the morning light lands on the scratched table like a tender apology. The funny faces my students make when they sing the low notes and lean on me. A poster in the staff room that says, "Be the adult you needed when you were a kid," and how I am, slowly, becoming that person for myself. 3 months later, I could almost joke about it. Almost. My landlord renewed my lease without raising the rent because you are tidy, which is the highest compliment in this city. Leela set me up with a friend who works at a library, a person who smells faintly of paper and peppermint and keeps plants alive with casual devotion. We are taking it slow. She is 30 years old and says please and thank you to waiters like it is a love language. When she laughs, it is a reed instrument. One night we watched a movie about revenge and she said, "I do not get it. Why not just leave?" I paused, the popcorn warm in my lap. "Because sometimes leaving is the last step," I said. "Sometimes you have to clear the stage so the door is visible." Here is the last thing I will say about her. I do not hate her. I hate what I allowed. I hate the part of me that mistook chaos for passion and apology for love. I hate how quickly a person can turn your home into a theater for their drama.
but I cannot carry hate into a future that finally smells like lemons for a good reason. Would you take revenge in my place? Someone will ask. I do not know. I think I took protection. I think I chose myself. There was one final message, months after the order, from an email with a name I did not recognize. It was short. I moved to my aunt's, she wrote. I got a job. The email had a selfie attached. Her in a scratchy polo at a big box store, hair pulled back, eyes plain. For a second, I saw the girl I had cooked pasta for, the one who used to fall asleep during documentaries and drool on my sleeve. Then I closed the email and fed Newton. I am not your villain, I whispered to the plants. I am my own hero. Punchlines? Fine. Here are two. Love should not require a missing wallet. And my silence was not forgiveness. It was strategy. Is cheating a mistake or a choice? Is it better to forgive or to fight back? Would you ever check your partner's phone after this? Would you stay in a relationship after this betrayal? The questions loop sometimes when I wash dishes, like a playlist you can't figure out how to turn off. But then I breathe, and I hear the radiator hiss, and I smell the soap, and the cat sneezes, and the kettle sings. And life, which is not a movie, or a revenge thread, or a confession, continues. And that is when I realized she never loved me.